Hi guys, this is my review for Season 10, Episode 9, Devil's Trifecta. So the case for this episode begins with Gibbs and Fornell teaming up to figure out who shot Fornell in a fast food drive-thru. They begin by checking out a bar where their shooter moonlighted as a bouncer, and lo and behold, they run into their favorite mutual ex-wife, Diane. Yay! After last year's episode, I was pretty indifferent about Diane, and I'm still not sure how I feel, because she's got this bat crazy aggressive sassy energy, and normally that's a good thing, but it also makes her kind of a mess. But at the same time, I sort of like her, but I also sort of want to run away. Diane is using Fornell's name instead of her own, and she's also lying about why she's at the bar, so they haul her back to HQ on a bogus obstruction charge to try and find out what the heck is going on. The team puzzles over how Diane could have fallen into their investigation. Gibbs knows something's up, and Fornell is just overflowing with suspicion. They attempt to interrogate her, but Vance puts a stop to it and informs them that she is actually now a IRS agent enforcer lady something. Gibbs and Fornell's reactions are great, and the crowning moment of funny of this episode is definitely Fornell's reaction to the title Agent, and the Lord wept. It turns out Agent Diane, what's-her-name, is working some big IRS case that sounds like a riveting pile of paperwork, and she has been using the Fornell name as her undercover alias, which is why it led back to Tobias Fornell, which is why he was shot. I actually think that's a pretty good bit of plotting, so points for that. So, they begin working the case. Tony is wearing a shirt that resembles graphing paper and has been surprisingly sidelined for most of the funny moments of this episode, probably because they're saving him for next week. Ziva has ovaries like Diane, so her only real role in this episode is to stick up for Diane and get her to open up about her boy troubles. Abby, Palmer, and Ducky make brief appearances as usual. And McGee, well, McGee gets to have a sleepover with Diane. Sean Murray is great as usual, Diane is okay, but just together, I just don't feel like they have much comedic chemistry. And the scene where Diane orders McGee to hug her is just forced, and it's like the writers went, okay, now how do we get these two characters to wake up entwined in each other's arms? Which equals later funnies. And this is the best they can come up with without, actual sexual stuff. It's honestly something I would expect to find in a fanfiction written by a 12-and-a-half-year-old girl, and I was surprised that super glue or truth or dare was not involved. So Diane guilts McGee into hugging her, and then they wake up spooning. I'm not quite sure how one awkward hug leads to platonic morning spooning on a couch. I invite you guys to figure out what happened during that time jump, because I am at a total loss. So contrived as it is, the aftermath of this fully clothed tryst at Maison Magoo is actually quite funny. The pair awaken to find Gibbs staring down at them as only Gibbs can. How long has he been there? Staring down, trying to make sense of it, his coffee going cold? Who knows? Fornell walks in and has another hilarious freak out. Fornell is the shining jewel of this episode. They check out a house that is filled with frozen fish and one frozen dead guy, and nobody makes a "he sleeps with the fishes" joke, and I am disappointed. Back at HQ, the other characters confront McGee about the rumor that little McGee went spelunking in Diane's Batcave, and basically lampshades the fact that this case is boring, but sex is not. Which I think is one of the crime drama rules of thumb. Fish stunts were funny back in the early days of CSI and Law & Order, but banging your boss's ex-wife never goes out of style. After this, case stuff happens, and Tony is right, it's kinda boring. Thanks for the warning. So they decide that they think they know who the bad guy is, and Diane comes up with a plan to trick him into admitting that he's a smuggler by posing as a job-seeking accountant. This all takes place at a wedding. Things head south when it turns out that the real bad guy is somebody we met earlier in the episode. This is also one of the crime drama rules of thumb. Gibbs saves Diane by reenacting his proposal to her. Wait, how big is this wedding? Aren't the bride and groom, who are these people? Are they from your side? I thought they were from your side. And so this episode ends with another Diane Gibbs heart-to-heart, which was okay. So I'm gonna give this episode 3 out of 5 possible calf pows. It was good-ish. I mean, I laughed sometimes, but other times I was just really disappointed, and I know that a lot of people loved it, so, I'm sorry, but this is just how I felt. So this episode is a sequel to last season's Devil's Triangle, which is why it has the appropriate but strange title, Devil's Trifecta. Next season, we'll probably make it a Devil's Trilogy with an episode called Devil's Triad, or Devil's Trinity, Trio, Triple, Tricycle? One ring to rule them all, one ring to find them, one ring to bring them all, and in the darkness bind them, in Mordor where the shadows lie.